Hello again, college football fans. It is Thursday, November 30th, 2023, and we were 2 days away from Armageddon down there in Atlanta for the SEC Championship against 12-0 Georgia and 11-1 Alabama. At this point, I think everyone in the know around college football and knowledgeable college football fans can agree that this is the national championship game. This is the game that determines who the best program in the country is right now at the moment. And if Alabama wins, it's probably a tie. Georgia wins, then we're in big trouble at Bama if we want to continue to claim that we're the king of college football, because that will be the Georgia Bulldogs, and there will be no doubt about it if they're able to pull off the victory Saturday in Atlanta. I think that this is a toss-up game. I know Vegas has Georgia favored by about 5.5 the last time I looked. But in my mind, these teams, even though Georgia is on the 29-game winning streak and they've won the last two national championship games, I think the last couple of years, these teams have been neck and neck as far as talent, neck and neck as far as the quality of football team that each of these programs has. I just think that Georgia has gotten the breaks that Alabama hasn't gotten the last couple of seasons. Now, I know the perception going into this game is that Georgia is a little bit better of a team because of the things I just mentioned, the national championships, the 29 straight games. But the argument that I would make against that is, Alabama has played tougher schedules over the last couple of seasons. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. I know that in 2021, Georgia started off the season with Clemson, but that Clemson team turned out to be not quite elite. Now, Tennessee, I think, was an elite team in 2022. And, of course, they had to play Alabama in the SEC Championship game. And when Alabama was close to full strength, we all saw what happened there. And then last year, of course, they had to play Ohio State. And, it took a missed field goal and a lot of luck for them to win that ball game. So I'm not ready to say that Georgia is just the clear juggernaut King Kong of college football right now. They may be, but certainly this season we haven't seen them play a team that would allow them to prove that. I know Missouri turned out to be better than people expected, and Ole Miss, but beating Missouri and Ole Miss, if that's your two best victories to hang your hat on, then you haven't proven that you are a great football team. And Alabama hasn't proven that they're a great football team either, because the one elite level team that they played this year was Texas. Granted, it was early in the season, still had a green quarterback, still had a true freshman left tackle, true freshman strong safety playing their first real big time college football game. Disrespect intended to Middle Tennessee, but it is what it is. And, everybody said it. Everybody has seen Alabama's progression throughout the season. They're a completely different team. Milroe's a completely different quarterback than he was then. I think Reese is a completely different offensive coordinator than he was back then. And the defense was already ready to go out of the gate, but I do think that they were still trying to figure out what kind of lineup they wanted to use in that interior defensive line, and I think that they have figured that out as the season has gone on, and those guys have gotten a lot stronger there in the middle, and that was something that hurt us in that Texas game. But, the point I'm making here is that, you sort of have to read the tea leaves in this one to be able to make a prediction. I mean, predictions are impossible anyway, but especially when the teams are this closely matched and both of the teams are at the highest of levels in the sport. So obviously things can happen that no one can predict, like turnovers and injuries. But looking at the units, the matchups between these two teams, I think the defenses, you could say, are pretty much dead even. I think the O-lines at this point are pretty dead even after Alabama has been able to clean a lot of that, a lot of those mistakes that they were having earlier in the season on their O-line, and Caden Proctor, becoming more mature football player there at left tackle. I think that Georgia's running backs are slightly better than Alabama's, but there's an X factor about that going into this game, because I've said all year long that I believe that Alabama's two best, most talented, most explosive running backs are the underclassmen that have been sitting on the bench most of the season. And because of Jace McClellan's injury going into this game, I think Saban is going to be forced to at least give Jam Miller a lot more playing time. And I'm excited about that prospect. And I hope that Justin Haynes can get some playing time as well. And, if I had a gun to my head, Roydell is my favorite of the two main backs that we've used this year. So, there could be, that's something to keep an eye on, the production from running back in that game. Now, I know that Brock Bowers is probably the best skill player in the country, but we don't know exactly how healthy he is, and McConkey either. Now, McConkey is not really explosive receiver, but he's a veteran guy, and he's good at getting open, and he's got some wheels too if he can find some open field. But I don't think he's the kind of guy that's just going to blow our Alabama defensive backs off the ball and get a 2 or 3 yard head start on them and catch an 80-yard touchdown pass. And Carson Beck hasn't really proven that he's that kind of a quarterback yet either. And the quarterbacks, I think that they're even. I mean, they're very different quarterbacks, but the level of competition that they've played this year and just the way that they've played, and especially Milroe, you have to give that caveat that in the second half of the season he's been completely different. So I'm going to go with the second half Jalen Milroe versus the second half Carson Beck, really. And I mean, that's another thing. Both of these teams had some growing pains to start off this season, but the difference is while Alabama was playing Texas, Georgia was playing UAB and South Carolina and teams like that. So you really have to just kind of draw on the past. And, Kirby Smart Georgia teams have struggled to score against Alabama. I know they got 33 in the national championship win that they had in 2021, but that last touchdown was a pick six that was forced because Bryce Young was out of, good receivers that were able to get open for him, and he forced one. And, Alabama was only down 8 points at that point, trying not to rehash that too much, but, it just sticks in my craw. But, that is all in the past, and these are different teams. But those trends tend to continue against coaches and programs that know each other so well, like these two do. And I think that the difference could be in this game Jalen Milroe, and it could be good or bad. If some of the offensive line problems come back and they're unable to protect him that well, and those defensive backs at Georgia are better than I think they are, he could throw some interceptions, make some mistakes, and that could be the difference in the ball game. Or it could be a positive difference, and that's something that I keep holding. That's a hope that I keep holding on to, because I know, because of Kirby Smart's history at Alabama, and I know that defense that he's running is the same defense that he was running at Alabama, and I know that the Achilles heel, and everybody knows what it always was, were quarterbacks that could run the ball well and throw the ball well, and Milroe can do that now. I think he's proven that. He's proven that he can throw the ball at an elite level against Texas A&M, against Kentucky. He proved that he can run it at an elite level against LSU. And Auburn, too, for that matter. And, you can draw on the combined matchups or the shared matchups that these teams have had. And I know that Georgia has got a little bit of an edge. They both of the teams beat the four shared opponents that they had. But Alabama's score margins were a little bit less than Georgia's. But that was also the case in 2021. Coming into this SEC championship game, and we remember what happened in that one. So you just don't have a whole lot to go on, and Georgia is still a mystery because, Missouri or Ole Miss, those are the best teams they've played. Now, Alabama has played an elite offense in LSU and Texas, and they played elite defenses in Texas A&M and Texas, in my opinion. And yes, I think Texas A&M is an elite defense. I think they are the only defense that either of these teams have played outside of Texas that are comparable to the ones that they're going to face Saturday. And so, just going into what I think is going to happen in this game, I think that both teams are going to struggle to move the ball, especially early in the game. I think you're looking at something like maybe a 10-7 halftime score, and whoever, you take your pick as to who the 10 and who the 7 is. And I think that struggle will continue in the third quarter, and I believe that the difference is going to be Jalen Milroe in this game, and I think his ability to run and escape pressure, and the fact that Carson Beck hasn't seen anything near what he's going to see Saturday. Alabama can get to the passer better than any team he's played, and those defensive backs, I think we have the best defensive backfield in the country, and I think we are a good full notch better than Georgia's. And I think that Georgia's defense hasn't seen anything like they're going to see coming from Alabama's offense Saturday, and I just feel like that's going to be the difference. I think that Georgia's soft schedule, and Jalen Milroe's ability to run and throw the deep ball is going to be the difference in this ball game. And I'm looking at a final score of Alabama 31, Georgia 20, 31-20 in this ball game. And then after that, we can have a lot of fun deciding who should be in the college football playoff. I think obviously Alabama should be in if we're being realistic about this thing. But I don't think personally that the 4 best teams should be the criteria for the College Football Playoff Committee. I think that these games are played on the field, and that those results must be respected. So if it comes down to Texas versus Alabama for the last spot, then it should be Texas if Alabama wins. Now, if Georgia wins, then the committee is going to have one of the easier decisions that they've had in the entire history of the 4-team playoff. So, but I'm sticking with that 31-20 Alabama victory in this one. Obviously, it could go a lot of different ways, but we do know that we're going to be watching the 2 best college football teams in America down there in Atlanta Saturday, and I hope everybody enjoys championship weekend, and it'll get kicked off tomorrow. And I really don't know who to pull for or who to pull against. I've said all year that I think Alabama's main goal should be beating Auburn for the 4th straight time. Check. Win the West. Check. And now beating Georgia. And whatever happens after that, I'm okay with. But we just have to beat Georgia in order to keep them off of the top spot in the national hierarchy of college football right now. Thanks for watching.